Welcome to Lecture 3, Unit 1. My name is Jorge, and this is for Statistics 2023. And in this lecture, we're going to be talking about data collection and sampling techniques. So in this course, we're really going to just talk about simple random variable, stratified, systematic, cluster, and also convenience sampling. We're not going to talk about judgment sampling or quarter sampling or extensive sampling or multi-stage random sampling. So the objective for this lesson is that we're going to identify the 4 basic sampling techniques. So data can be collected in many different ways, and one common way is to use surveys. So we can use a telephone survey, mail questionnaires, personal interviews, and so on. Now, I said this at the beginning in the first lecture, that samples cannot be selected in a haphazard way because then the information that we get can be biased or useless. So we have to be careful when we gather our data that we are following proper sampling techniques and data collection. So to obtain samples that are unbiased, it gives every subject in the population in question that we're looking at the same equal opportunity to be selected. So statisticians or researchers use 4 basic methods of sampling: random sampling, systematic, stratified, cluster, and we also use convenience, and I'll talk about that. So the first one is random sampling. And random sampling simply refers to a method that has the following properties. The population consists of n objects. The sample consists of n objects, so the population can be 1,000 people, and then we can go ahead and get a sample of 30 people. So that's what the capital N and the lowercase n refers to. And then all possible samples of n objects, so every single one of the 1,000 people actually have the same chance of being chosen as part of a sample. Now, systematic sampling, that means that we number all the subjects of the population in a sequential manner, so from 1 to infinity, if you will. And then we choose a starting point at random, and we include every kth subject of the population in the sample. So let's say there are 2,000 subjects in the population, and a sample of 50 is needed. So then 2,000 divided by 50 is 40, so every 40th subject will be selected. The next one is stratified sampling. And here what we do is we divide the population into distinct subgroups, and we call those strata. Now the strata are based on specific characteristics such as age, income, or educational level. So we take the population, we break it up into subgroups. These are strata, and then every object in that sample has something in common, either age, income, educational level, so on and so on. And then all members of the stratum share the specific characteristic. And then we draw a random sample from each stratum. So you have to be careful because a lot of students get confused between stratified and cluster. So all members have the specific characteristics, and then we draw a random sample from each one of those stratum. Now, cluster sampling is we divide the population into groups called clusters. Each cluster can be selected based on either geographic region or a school in a large district. And then every member of the cluster is included in the sample. So stratified, we take a random sample from the stratum, and cluster, when we break them up into clusters, we sample every single member of that particular cluster. Now, convenience sampling just uses results or data that are readily available or obtained. Now, convenience sampling has a risk of being biased, so we have to be careful with convenience samples. So here, again, it's a summary of the sampling method. So random, subjects selected randomly. Systematic, subjects are selected using every kth number after the first subject is randomly selected from 1 through k. Stratified, subjects are selected by dividing the population into groups or strata, and the subjects are randomly selected within each group. And then cluster, subjects are selected using intact group that is representative of the population, and then each cluster the entire cluster is sampled. So let's look at these examples and determine whether they're random, systematic, stratified, or cluster. So in a large school district, all teachers from 2 buildings are interviewed to determine whether they believe that the students have less homework to do now than in previous years. And then every 7th customer entering a shopping mall is asked to select her or his favorite store. So the first one is the cluster, and then the second one is systematic. Now, nursing supervisors are selected using random numbers to determine annual salaries, and then the other one is obtain a list of patients discharged from the hospital, divide the patients according to the length of stay, and then draw random samples from each group. So the first one is random, and then the second one is stratified. And that's the end of Lecture 3, Unit 1. Thank you.